So this is in praise of Maggie Webster. Thank you, Maggie Webster, for actually articulating me and respecting my mind and respecting my personhood, respecting my existence. You knew that I needed to know the facts and the information to be good on the academic team, but I'm going to need to know the facts and information to do well at school, to do well at college, to do well in life. I actually need to know the damn thing. You can just obey the person and make them feel good about themselves, but if you don't actually learn anything or get anything out of the thing, and that, Arnie, is why we wear hard hats on the job. Here's a little Far Side comic, huh? There's a little Far Side comic for you. What do you think, huh? That's why we wear hard hats there, Arnie. If you're ever around in a construction site digging a ditch and a building falls on you, make sure you got your hard hat on. Oh, Gary Larson. Where do you come up with this stuff, Gary Larson? Where do you come up with this stuff? So Benjamin Palmer actually wrote the letter. Maggie Webster in the 8th grade in 1995, when I'm 13 years of age, Maggie Webster grilled all of us, Benjamin Palmer and Colin and Megan and other people. Daggone it, that's terrible. Brandon Hawkins. They grilled us so that way we knew, we were smart and we were great. We did great because Maggie Webster worked with us. There is something you could do. You want to do well in Jeopardy? Then ask yourselves a bunch of trivia questions. Grill each other. I had a cousin, Jamie, that knew the Trivial Pursuit. He was good at sports. Why? Because he would say, give me the sports questions, and, he would learn. That's how you learn. You repeat the ideas over and over in your head, and if you're not a guy by the side or a sage on the stage, and you're just a loud, obnoxious fucking asshole, and you're not teaching. You're breathing all the oxygen in the room, and you're not educating anybody. Without common subject matter, you're just saying your ignorant, hate-filled, ugly fucking thoughts, and you're pretending they're as good as Maggie Webster's. Maggie Webster was sitting there talking about Robert Fulton. Maggie Webster says, I want you to know that Robert Fulton invented the steamboat in 1807, because when they say who invented the steamboat, you could say Robert Fulton, and you'll get that question right. Maggie Webster gave a damn about my thoughts, my brain, my mind. She wanted me to know things, and you get a wrinkle in your brain, but you can pack everything. You can learn all the things you want to learn. All the thoughts, all the information. You cannot pack too much stuff into your brain. Your brain is full. No, it's not. Your brain is never full. You might need to take a break for a second, but after you take a break, take a drink, take a breath, eat something, walk around for a little bit, you'll need to work on something. Unlike my guardians and my government, Maggie Webster actually delivered, and she felt compelled to deliver. She felt compelled to deliver excellence, to inspire excellence, and to be excellent herself. Kimmy bought me a Grimm's Fairy Tale book. That's articulating my mind. And a teddy bear. This is just, thank you, Kimmy. Thank you, Maggie Webster. Thank you, Mr. Heim. I never got a chance to thank any of you all. But a teddy bear, that was life-altering. Grimm's Fairy Tales, we are part German. And why, where, what? In Grimm's Fairy Tales? What the fuck was going on in Germany? That's got to be a scary-ass fucking place. Benjamin Palmer was the only person that wrote the letter. Maggie Webster was the only one that actually educated us during the 8th grade year. Academic team, middle school, right before high school. She actually made sure we got smarter and we would get better, and we were good. But she asked us to write a letter at the very end, and we didn't write her a letter. One of us did. Benjamin Palmer wrote the letter. He was Henry Harris. Frederick Douglass. Henry Harris tried to run away. Well, make sure it's Henry Harris. Because Henry Harris is just a fucking badass. And because Henry Harris stood up to fight, Henry Harris put Frederick Douglass. So Henry Harris, Benjamin Palmer put me to shame. Because the 8th grade, he actually wrote the letter. He stood up for somebody that was good and that was worthy of defending and worthy of standing up for. Some people say, why are you simping for that person? Why are you simping? I ain't simping for nothing. I'm simping for goodness. Give credit where credit is due. Yeah, it'd be nice if nobody got any credit, but Shouldn't people at least get the credit for what they've done and what they've accomplished? They did accomplish that thing. They do deserve the credit for what they accomplished. I hope that the letter that Benjamin Palmer wrote had some effect. Later on, I was going to hear that Maggie Webster wrecked out somewhere in Kansas or Arizona or Iowa or something. Wrecked her motorcycle and she was substantially injured. And that's the end of Maggie Webster? That's the end? She didn't get a job. She did all that free work. We made us better, made us stronger mentally, made us... She was great to a young man, 1 year back in the 1990s, and now she's dead, and that's it? What the fuck, America? We gotta do way better than that. We're gonna just, throw the goddamn good people out with the trash and keep a bunch of authoritarian fucking dickholes who didn't give 2 squirts of piss, didn't give 2 squirts of shit about anybody else, didn't give 2 squirts of diarrhea, fucking piss and shit about anybody else. That's make sure we don't burn that bridge down, because Mr. Man is the fucking Mr. Man of the fucking world. That douchebag pile of shit. He was never my teacher. What bridge did I never needed that piece of shit. What I needed was Maggie Webster's in my life, and Mr. Himes in my life, and Mrs. Glass and Mrs. Clinkenbeard's in my life. I didn't need goddamn Mr. fucking Man. And actually 95% of the goddamn, I'm making straight A's. You would think that the damn school system would give a shit about the person that's kicking the school system's ass. But they didn't give a shit. I was making straight A's because I was obedient. They didn't care if I actually had the knowledge. They weren't putting me in leadership positions. Maggie Webster was a great person. But for some reason, the established institutions, maybe jealousy. But they didn't give a damn about that. The school system should have gave 2 squirts of diarrhea frog shit about the straight A students. They know who's educating them and who's not educating them. They're doing every fucking thing. Another thing, you have to just let a fucking bully beat you up, because if you get into a fight, then both of you are suspended. What the fuck is that shit? Everybody just shut up and obey, boy. I thought you were good educators. No, you're not, huh? Just shut up and obey, boy. Yes, sir, boob. I got a question, though, sir. Fine, what's your question? When do I get to control my own goddamn life? When the fuck do I get to make my own decisions? You want me to say be responsible and accountability and this shit. But you've been telling me what to fucking do. You've been telling me what to fucking do. Micromanagement my life from 0 to fucking 20. Shut your goddamn mouth. Arrest him right now for contempt of court because I slightly irked you. When do I get to control my own life? I asked you if I could ask you the question. I asked you if I could make a statement to the court. You said that I could, and now you changed your mind and you're threatening me with contempt of court? I've read a bunch of laws. I keep showing up for fucking court. I respect court more than every other mother. I respect the ideal of what a court can be. Could you imagine a world that was actually fair, where the Maggie Websters of the world actually got their just desserts? She should be teacher, she should be principal, she should be superintendent, but I guess she didn't play good politics. She was just a good fucking person. And she had, faith, and she gave inspiration to a young man. Because that's what you were supposed to, right? The golden rules, you treat others the way you want to be treated. She was doing that. She was actually being a Christian and being a good person, being a person that believed in the golden rule. You changed your mind right in the middle of my sentence? Yes, sirree, boob. Ben Palmer wrote the letter. I remember Ben Palmer got into a fight, clearly self-defense. You had Wyatt Eggleston and Ben Palmer were face to face. And somebody said something, and Wyatt Eggleston got mad, and he threw a punch and punched Ben Palmer right in the jaw. And Ben Palmer didn't go down. Ben Palmer tackled Wyatt Eggleston on the desk, and the desk spread all over the place. And then that was it. Then they broke him up. But in terms of winning and losing, fucking Wyatt Eggleston fucking goddamn sucker punched Ben Palmer for no fucking reason. And then Ben Palmer, still standing, tackled Wyatt Eggleston down onto the fucking... Wyatt liked to make fun of me. And then later on, Paul Lay is going to rob me. I'm glad Ben Palmer stood up. I'm glad the good fucking kids, the straight A students, were standing up. A bunch of fucking criminal motherfuckers who didn't give a shit about nothing or nobody. Ben Palmer defended himself, and he absolutely had a right to defend himself. I wish somebody would have asked me what the hell happened, because just words? They disagreed about something. I don't know what the hell happened. Wyatt punched Ben Palmer for no fucking reason. Ben Palmer had every right in the world to tackle Wyatt Eggleston into a bunch of desk. You're goddamn fucking right. You have a right to defend your fucking self. So Benjamin Palmer stood up for righteousness and goodness. Benjamin Palmer is going to eventually, he's going to go off to war. He's going to become a soldier and go off to war. I remember I told some criminal abusers about Maggie Webster, and the principal criminal abusing guardians that I had at the time advised me to not stand up for myself or for others. Don't ever stand up for other people. Don't stand up for good people. It was the opposite. Injustice anywhere is a threat to... They were the opposite. They were going to allow any evil and any criminality, any abuse, any crimes happen to anybody and everybody. What, there was a good person to you? Fuck that shit. They would have been mad. I'm glad I didn't. But they told me to don't stand up for Maggie Webster. They ordered me not to, because don't burn the bridges down. I guess they advised me to, but I had to obey all of them or else I'd get beat up all the time. So their suggestions were basically orders. She was a good teacher. She was an unpaid teacher. She didn't get any just desserts. She didn't get any credit. She didn't even get a fucking, who gives a shit about a medal or credit? Just pay her. Get her a job. Let her pay her bills so she could have electricity. Maybe the motorcycle crashed because she wasn't able to afford the carburetor that it needed. She was a good-hearted, good Samaritan. It was like the only true Christian. There was, Catholics and Baptists and a whole bunch of Christians I grew up with, and yet only Ben Palmer stood up for Maggie Webster. And Ben Palmer was okay with abortion. I remember I was conservative at the time. I don't even know if he was a Christian or not, but in terms of goodness, Maggie Webster was worthy of being, someone standing up for her, and Ben Palmer actually did it. And I don't know what happened to that. Did she get, I don't know. I don't think she did get hired on anything. So I don't think it worked. But what's that poem? You don't stand up for the trade unionists. You don't stand up for the communists. You don't stand up for the Jews. And then when they come after you, nobody's going to be left to stand up for you. How many times did those abusers, like Mr. Man, stand up next to me pretending like they did something when I would get an award? I made straight A's, so I would get a lot of awards. And that really was the only, just the recognition. I mean, I like to achieve in scholarship. There's something to be said about excellence in scholarship. But I was too obedient. Getting too much of the extra bonus points and staying in the only person in school when senior skip day happened. But the abusers would stand next to me day in and day out, pretending like they did something, anything to support my academic career when they didn't do shit. No books, no desk. They're not learning anything. They're not teaching anything. When I'm off to college, they're codependent, insecure assholes. And so when one gives the attention, the other one's jealous. And when the other one gives attention, so they're just both a bunch of jealous assholes. They're the ones that made life hell for me when I go off to college. So Maggie Webster didn't do any of that shit. She actually articulated and wanted me to do well in the 8th grade. You telling me that she would have made sure I was fucking homeless when I went to college? No, only some people want you to do well for yourself. Other people are just against you from fucking birth to the end. You think you're going to go off to college and do well for yourself? Is that what you think you're going to do, mister? Huh? Is that what you think you're going to be something, huh? You think you're going to go off to college and be something, don't you, mister? Well, how about we give you homelessness? How about that? Oh, you don't like that? How about if we don't empathize with you or show solidarity? We won't have any kind of understanding or dialogue with you. I had one conversation with the abusers when I was 12 in Grant County. And the conversation was, I don't like the abuse. Oh, really? Well, I got to go do the job thing tomorrow. Okay, you're going to come back and have a dialogue? You come back and sit next to me? You're going to play Trivial Pursuit? When you're going to articulate my mind, I articulate your mind, you articulate my mind. We're getting smarter. You know the muscles and bones of the body. I know the muscles and bones of the body. Now we have something, a common thing to talk about. And then when we talk about the muscles and bones, we're making ourselves smarter. I know that you know about it. I know that I know about it. And then we're learning more things. Goodness gracious, could you imagine being around other people that believes in education too? Huh? Can you imagine that? America, Colorado, Conejos County. Can you imagine that? But no, it's just oppression for you, you rebellious sack of shit. Rebelling against your bullshit oppression. That's America, and you're ruining my country, you fucking authoritarian pieces of shit. Help you pick your fucking classes. Why would I do something? Read a book with you? Learn new facts or skills with you? Never. Yeah, that's just so stupid, isn't it? You don't love. You're not for empathy. You're not for family or solidarity or unions. You're not for anything. Ben Palmer wrote the letter. I was advised not to, or told not. I'd get beat. I'd make straight A's, do dishes, pick tomatoes, but I wasn't going to stand up for good people. No fucking way was I allowed to stand up for good people. That was strictly forbidden. And what's good about my little bit of Christianity was that they kind of said, here's what's good and bad. So they made me think about what's good and bad. I didn't conclude the same things that they concluded. But Ben Palmer is just like that Henry Harris who fought the slave catchers. When him and Frederick Douglass decided to run away, Frederick Douglass had illegal papers. And Henry Harris was able to fight the slave catchers, not even trying to create a distraction so Frederick Douglass could throw away the illegal papers, which would have got Frederick Douglass and all the rest of them in trouble. But because Henry Harris was a man, no, you're not going to beat me up. No, you're not going to bound my hands. You ain't going to do nothing like that to me. He stood up like a man. And then the three sheriffs on horseback, they all were focused on Henry Harris and having to fight him. And that gave Frederick Douglass enough time to throw his papers into the fire. So because Henry Harris stood up like a man, that enabled Frederick Douglass to live another day. And then eventually Frederick Douglass is going to be the intellectual father of America for decades. The Civil War would never have happened if it wasn't for Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. You needed them both. You needed Lincoln and you needed Frederick Douglass, just like you needed LBJ and Martin Luther King Jr. So Ben Palmer was in the right. Ben Palmer defended himself, and he defended Maggie Webster. Now, I kind of paid a little bit of respect to the Palmers. There was a party at the Palmer house. This is high school, so this is a couple years later. But at the Palmer house, we were all just at a party, drinking, hanging out, talking. I didn't recognize most of the people that was there, but there's some drug-addled psycho. I guess apparently anybody in Warsaw could just go to the Palmer household. And I like Ben's older brother, too. He kind of once later on, 10 years later, was like, did you find out that you're actually better than others? No, I'm still pretty fucking humble, man. But I am starting to... I do feel like I have gifts that other people don't. Just giving a shit. I give a shit. But we're talking about Ben Palmer. So at the Palmer house, there's a party. There's a drug-addled psycho. He just broke a beer bottle. And he was like pointed at people, but you could just tell by his eyes are all glassy and he was just barely there. And I tried to go after him directly, but Colin stopped me. And so I went around the house. And he was fucking drug-addled. He had a beer bottle, so yeah, he probably could have just swung it and scratched me or whatever. But he was pretty scrawny, and like I said, he was all fucking methed out on crack or some shit. I don't know. But the party had stopped when the crackhead, meth head, deadhead snapped and broke a bottle. But I walked around the house, and he didn't see me, so I grabbed a hold of his shirt, and I was able to get a hold of him, and then I just threw him out of the house. He went easily. I mean, he had to have took a couple steps because you can't just throw a person. They would just fall over, right? But he was right there by the door. So I walked around the house. I could see him. I grabbed his shirt and just threw him out the door. So, thank you, Ben Palmer, for defending yourself. Thank you, Ben Palmer. We was at a paintball game too, which Will Smith used to throw somebody out at Fresh Prince, so it's kind of like this. So I threw the guy out of the house. It was, it was a good moment for me, but bad moment for the party, and then the party could go back on, right? And we're gonna let this little scrawny fucking deadhead ruin everything. So Ben and Peevis and Joey Dickerson and I played paintball in high school. One time it was awesome. I don't know, it was in Ohio somewhere. Ben's going to go on to be a soldier in Afghanistan, and I'm proud of all my classmates who did well. Terrible war, but a good job, and what an experience, right? So comparatively speaking, I'd rather have, soldiers than deadheads. There's more honor and social respect in being a soldier than some dishwasher or migrant, farm worker on my aunts and uncles' farms. That didn't give any respect at all. Being a migrant farm worker for my abusers and their aunts and their brothers, and a taxi driver at the airport in Northern Kentucky. I was also a pizza maker at Hometown, Warsaw, pizza deliverer, Richmond, Kentucky. Maggie Webster grilled us 8th grade academic team members so we would actually get smarter. She articulated our minds, and she actually made us better. Thank you, Maggie Webster. Thank you, Maggie Webster, for doing that, and thank you, Ben Palmer. Never gave any credit to them, and so this is me trying to give credit where credit is due. Maggie Webster was one of the few good people I ever met. 41 fucking years on the planet. You'd think you'd have, more kind people, but man, just fucking shitheads after fucking shitheads after fucking shitheads. And so I guess in my 41-year-old manhood, I'm looking back and thinking, man, we all really had something with the Maggie Webster, and you got to keep to the good. You got to keep to the good. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Why are the good teachers leaving and the bad teachers staying? Because it's a corrupt fucking system, and people that want power and money, they want it and they hold on to it. And the people that actually want to educate others, what thanks did she get? She actually gave a damn. She made us better, and what thanks did she actually get? And this makes me feel better. So I don't know if there's anything I could do for Maggie Webster, if she's still alive, if she's okay. It'd be cool to, talk to her, reach out to her, see how she's doing. I'd love to talk to Maggie Webster. If anybody knows anything about her, if she's still alive, give her my number. Let her know I asked about her. Thank you, Maggie Webster. Thank you, Ben Palmer.